Imagine taking a human being from 100,000 years ago, someone who has never seen a wheel, never tasted sugar, never slept indoors, and dropping them, right now, into the middle of a modern city. Not a slow, gentle introduction. One second they're crouched by a fire under the stars, and the next they're standing in the roar of traffic, surrounded by glowing screens, towering buildings, and thousands of strangers who don't even look at each other. Their brain is identical to yours. Same intelligence, same emotions, same fears. But everything they knew about how the world works has just been shattered. Some of what they'd see would fill them with wonder, some of it would terrify them. And some of it, this is the strange part, would make them think we've gone completely insane. So what would a caveman actually make of your life? The answer says more about you than about them. First, understand who we're really talking about. An ancient human from 100,000 years ago was not a dumb brute. Their brain was anatomically identical to ours. Same size, same wiring, same raw potential. Take a newborn from back then, raise them today, and they could become a doctor, a pilot, a coder. The only difference between them and you is what they were taught and what surrounded them. So when we imagine their reaction to our world, we're not imagining a confused animal. We're imagining a sharp, curious, fully human mind with all your capacity for awe and horror, meeting a reality it was never prepared for. The very first thing to overwhelm them wouldn't be technology. It would be the crowds. For nearly all of human history, you lived your entire life among the same 20, 50, maybe 100 people. You knew every single face. A stranger was rare and often dangerous. Now drop that person onto a busy street. Thousands of unknown faces streaming past in a single minute. To an ancient mind, this is not just strange, it's alarming on a primal level. So many strangers should mean a threat, a war, a disaster. And yet everyone is calm, ignoring each other completely. That contradiction alone, this many strangers, and nobody's afraid, would be one of the most disorienting things they ever experienced. Then they'd look up. In their world, the tallest things were trees and mountains, made by nature over ages. Now they're standing beneath structures of glass and steel that scrape the clouds, perfectly straight, impossibly tall, clearly made by hands. Their first instinct might be that these are the works of gods or giants. When you tell them people built these ordinary people like them, it reframes everything. It's not the height that would stun them most. It's the realization that humans, their own kind, learn to reshape the world on a scale they'd have thought only nature or spirits could manage. As night falls, the deepest shock arrives. For every human who ever lived, darkness was absolute and a little frightening, the time of predators, of huddling by the fire. Then the sun goes down in the city, and instead of blackness, the whole world lights up. Streetlights, windows, screens, a brightness with no flame, no smoke, no heat. To someone who spent every night of their life guarding a fragile fire, light that appears at the flick of a switch, cold, endless, controllable, would feel like pure magic. We stole the day back from the night. For them, that might be the single most godlike thing we do, and we don't even notice it. Now, food. This is where wonder turns to disbelief. Their entire life was organized around finding the next meal, hunting for days, gathering, often going hungry. Then you walk them into a supermarket. Mountains of food, more than a whole tribe could eat in a year, just sitting there. No hunt, no risk. And the flavors would break their minds. Sugar so sweet it's almost painful, salt and fat in amounts nature never offered. But here's the twist. Watching us throw perfectly good food in the bin, while machines and screens keep us sitting still all day, they might slowly conclude that we've lost our minds. So much food, so little effort, and somehow we're still stressed and unwell. Of everything, one thing would puzzle them more than any building or machine. Everywhere they look, people are staring at small glowing rectangles in their hands. On the street, at dinner, side by side but silent, thumbs moving, faces lit blue. Try explaining a smartphone to someone with no concept of it. This piece of glass holds all the knowledge in the world, lets you speak to anyone anywhere, and shows you people who aren't there. Astonishing. But then they'd notice something we've stopped noticing, that we look at the glowing square more than we look at each other. To a creature whose entire survival depended on the people right beside them, that would seem not amazing, but deeply, sadly wrong. Then a car roars past, and instinct takes over. They flinch, ready to run from the giant beast. Until they see people calmly climbing inside these metal creatures, and being carried away faster than any animal can run. The idea that you can cross in an hour a distance that would have taken their people days of hard walking is almost beyond imagining. And a plane overhead, humans in the sky higher than birds? That's not technology to them. That's the stuff of the most impossible stories their elders ever told around the fire. We fly. We casually, boredly fly, scrolling our glowing squares while we do it. But it wouldn't all be wonder. Some of modern life would genuinely disturb them. The noise, constant, mechanical, never-ending, in a world where silence was normal and a strange sound meant danger. The speed, everyone rushing, always somewhere to be. And the isolation. They'd see people living alone in boxes stacked on top of each other, surrounded by millions, yet knowing almost no one, eating alone, sleeping alone. For a human wired to survive only as part of a tight, bonded group, our loneliness in the middle of a crowd wouldn't look like freedom. It would look like a slow tragedy we've all agreed to pretend is normal. So what would truly win them over? Not the gadgets, most likely, but the safety. No more children dying young from a scratch that got infected. No more starving through a bad winter. Warmth on demand, water that doesn't make you sick, medicine that pulls people back from death. To someone who watched half their children die and buried friends killed by things we cure with a pill, the sheer softness and security of modern life would be staggering. That's the deal they'd understand instantly. We traded danger and hunger for comfort and safety. The parts of our world they'd envy most are the ones we take for granted every single day. And that's the real point of this thought experiment. It was never about the caveman. It's a mirror. Through their eyes, the miracles are obvious. Endless light, endless food, flying, curing disease. And so are the madnesses we've stopped seeing. The loneliness, the wasted food, the way we ignore the people right in front of us for a glowing screen. They would be dazzled and horrified in the same breath. Amazed at what we can do, baffled by how unhappy we manage to be while doing it. They'd have every reason to think we live like gods. And every reason to wonder why gods would choose to be this anxious, this alone, this distracted. So the next time you're standing in a bright room full of food, holding a glowing square that connects you to the entire planet, try to see it for 1 second the way they would. It really is magic. You really do live a life your ancestors couldn't have dreamed of. The question they'd leave you with isn't whether modern life is amazing. It obviously is. It's whether, with all these miracles in your hands, you're actually any happier than the person crouched by that fire 100,000 years ago, surrounded by the few people they loved. It makes you wonder what we gained, what we quietly lost, and whether we'd even trade back. Ever wondered how differently your ancestors saw the very things you look at every day?